meeting or the September one? I'm trying to think about when they call our home.
Yeah, someone called our home and they says, niggas, it's time that you all get off the board. So we had the police at the meeting.
That's why the police.
And that's why the police was
asked.
there. Our neighbor down the street kept asking, why was the police there? Karen, what's her last name?
Bennett.
She kept asking why was the police at the meeting.
They don't know all this.
And so
we do.
My husband told
We've got all the
her
police reports.
why the police was there because someone called our house.
Not
And it
before
kind of
meeting.
startled me because, you
I
know, you
have
pick up
every
the phone
single
and say
one.
hello, and then somebody say, niggas, this time y'all get off the board. And I'm like,
We was getting ready to have a board meeting that night.
so I read down to find out who actually called, which the number said it was an inactive number. So I asked the police, and he says they could have got one of those prepaid phones, and once they made their call, they threw it away. And I said, well, why would they say that? Because we represent Barton Estate. It's just not us, me and my husband. It's the whole board. It just said
It called our home.
our home.
And nobody else on the board. Have you been harassed?
No, nobody.
Nobody called.
Can we
Mr.
just
Gray.
get back to,
That's
you
what,
know?
no, we're saying before it got to this point.
Well, in that.
I'd just like to get to the point of where the issues
It was motivated
are.
through something else.
Well, and that may not.
Yeah,
done
before it
with
got
anybody
to
in
this point.
in this room.
Right. It may not, but
I
it
mean,
escalated.
It didn't have anything to do with anybody in this room.
It escalated from that point. You can see my concern.
What is
And that's why I said, well, we'll cool off, we'll put this off until, we don't do nothing in the winter anyway. They complain about the Christmas dinner. We should be doing other things. We stopped that for 2 years. They complain about getting asked to take care of the neighborhood. I said the neighborhood need to take care of yourself. I suggest you just give $20 per household a year. You're looking at about $8,000. Everybody got quiet. But this lady here runs out and get ads, support the newsletter, support the neighborhood, and put on events.
We haven't had a
So
newsletter
they-
in 2 years.
Yeah, because we didn't support it. The grant don't support the whole newsletter.
Okay, but can we get back to,
Right.
in September,
That's why.
we tried to have an election.
Have you done any
Okay.
volunteers in 2 years?
Wait a minute, that's not.
And so in, so in
We're
September,
gonna add about the
we tried
newsletter.
to, in September, we tried to have an election, and Johnny Jackson said, we're not going to have an election, we're going to have a cooling off period.
Right.
And so the thing that really upset most of the neighbors was we should have elected a new treasurer, we should have had elected a new board, new set of officers. And
By March?
well, he said to a cooling off period by March, and I spoke with Susan Rose myself, and she said that she did not allocate that. She did not approve that.
Yes, she did. She was at the meeting, sweetheart.
And so anyway, what we did was we had a cooling off period, and the thing that really upset us was the cooling off period meant we don't touch the grant, we don't touch any monies in the neighborhood, yet on the 15th of September, they submitted the grant application, or they submitted for the signs. And that was another thing, is that with the cooling off period, that was to give us a chance to have until March to vote in a new treasurer so we can have a new financial person to handle the funds. And then when that happened, we didn't have any answers whatsoever. And so we decided to go to the bylaws and find a way to vote him off the board because he has not been reelected every 2 years. There's nowhere in the board that says that he was, because I've been going to the meetings for about 3 years now, and we have never had a vote for any members on the board to be reelected. And so what we did was we went to the bylaws, and it says that we could call a meeting by a petition of a majority of the neighborhood. So we got the petition signed, and we went to, to different houses, and we got people's signatures. We got 38. We could have gotten a lot more to call a meeting to have a general meeting. So we called the general meeting. We took a vote. We voted, I believe it was 26-0 to vote the current members to vote the current board
But that
off.
wasn't stated before they had the meeting.
She's got the.
They
I
have
got
to
the
be-
floor. I have the
but
floor.
The flyer have to state the purpose of your meeting if you read.
So
the
anyway,
bylaws.
we voted 26-0 to vote off the current board. And then we decided to postpone to have another meeting in about a month's time. We notified everybody if you'd like to nominate anybody. So we had emails coming in on nominations. We then called another meeting on June 17th. We voted in a new set of board members. And then we turned all this information to the city and asked to be recognized as the new board.
So what was the response from the city?
The response was that they accepted what we had done as far as electing a new board, but they asked that we try and resolve the issues between the other board before they went ahead forward. And then the other...
So you consider yourself the new board?
No, we consider another board that represents the
That's what I
neighborhood.
mean, another
Yeah.
board.
Because we consulted an attorney, and I'm not going to it's not the one that you think of, but we consulted another attorney, and he said that there can be as many boards as you want to have in a neighborhood. As long as you don't want the grant money, there can be as many boards that represent a neighborhood as you want. One's different groups that, want to clean up the neighborhood, do curb painting. There's other neighborhoods that want to do different things. So there's no law that says that we can't have more than one
Right.
board. And so we got a letter from Tammy Hansen that said to me and Johnny, and if you wanted to look at that, I have that too. Okay. That says that until an agreement between the two boards have been made, that there will not be a grant issued to either one of us until a agreement has been made between the two boards. And so I had her clarify that there has to be something in writing presented by both boards in writing to the board, and it will be under review for them to make a decision as to who the new board is. But until that time, until an agreement has been made and that issues have been resolved, that that there will not be a grant.
So
I
you're
also
saying,
spoke with Tammy Henson, and you want to go ahead?
so you're saying that, okay, so are you telling me that the desire of the neighborhood is to have two separate boards?
No, the desire of the neighborhood is to have transparency.
No, that ain't my question. My question is, are you saying that the desire of the neighborhood apparently is that there are going to be two boards for Barton Estates
Until the resolution has been made, yes.
Where you get that from?
until a resolution has been made to do what?
Well, between the fact that, they continue to make decisions, the board continues to make decisions, or I should specify, Johnny Jackson and his wife Melba continue to make decisions.
No.
Now, what I'm
No.
asking
No, the
is
board
this.
makes the decision.
Board
Now,
makes
hold on,
it.
everybody, what I'm asking is this. Apparently you had a meeting, a legal meeting, apparently according to the bylaws. And you actually formed basically another neighborhood association.
Board, for the same neighborhood association.
Well, you can't have two boards for the same association.
You can't have two boards for a neighborhood that represent, that that are trying to get a grant for that neighborhood, but you can have as many boards in your neighborhood
You
under
have
the same
neighborhood
name.
Associations, but you cannot have 3 or 4 different boards of the same association.
You can, as long as you don't ask for grant money.
But
And
you
I've
say you
consulted an
asked
attorney for that.
Well, I think what Dennis is saying is,
Yeah.
now you're talking about a different
That
That's
association.
not
makes
true.
sense.
Right.
No.
You cannot have 3 or 4 different boards for one organization.
City manager.
See, the issue is that we have tried over the last year to get a new board. We've asked for his resignation. We've sent in a letter to be put on the agenda to ask him to remove himself as
She didn't
president.
ask that.
It's right here in a letter
I
by
don't know who you
Diane.
sent it to.
It's got your signature right here on the back, if you'd like to see that.
Yeah.
That he was asked to be
Well,
put
I
on
want
the
to get back to my
agenda.
question. I want to get back to my question is it apparently, is there 2 separate operating
Boards in the neighborhood.
boards or neighborhood association boards? In other words, apparently you got this neighborhood association board and this neighborhood association board.
Yes,
Okay, and this neighborhood association board represents these people who have basically voted to be part of it, and then this neighborhood association board represents these people who voted to be part of it.
yes.
And now, do both of these neighborhood association boards want to get grant money from the city?
Not until a resolution's
No,
been
no,
done.
no, 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 no.
I-
Look, I'm not talking about a resolution to anything. I'm talking about you got 2 separate groups here.
We have turned in a grant, but we're not expecting to get any grant money.
You want a grant and you want a grant from the city. So you want, so there's 2 separate people, groups that want grant money from the city.
To clarify though, is that no, we don't necessarily want a grant. We were told if 2 grants were turned in for a neighborhood association they would not be accepted. So we solely turned one in to prevent them from getting one. Our goal is to not have a grant for 2 years or 3 years to let our neighborhood recover from the issues that have been going on for the last year.
Now, is that the desire of this group's?
I don't know because we can't
That they-
Well, we
civilly.
had a meeting, they was there, and the group, when we had our meeting, they wanted the grant, and I presented it, and everybody signed off on it, that's why I turned it in.
Because
You
basically
were
what you
there
got is
also.
you got 2 different groups in that neighborhood. Okay, and that's what I'm seeing. I don't see no resolution of these 2 groups coming together. Okay, because there's too many personal conflicts. So I don't see that happening here. So
Well, our conflicts have never been about race.
Well, I didn't bring it up.
And
I'm just
then
saying.
our only goal is for transparency. We would like documentation, and that's
But
the resolution.
that's something that the association membership has got to work out.
We're trying.
But apparently you've got 2 different groups.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all are 2 apparently separate independent groups because you got 2 separate independent boards.
Yes,
So you're not the same group. You 2 are not the same group.
right.
Y'all are 2 separate groups. You have your group and you have your group. You represent a certain amount of people and you represent a certain group of people. That's the reality of it is. Now, what you call yourself, that's up to you. My point, and what I'm making it from a city standpoint, when it comes to the grant, okay, it's obvious that nobody's going to get a grant.
Right.
Nobody's going to get a grant.
Right.
Yeah, they understand that.
Well, so my question is, why are we here in this meeting? That's my question. Why are we here in this meeting? Are we here to try to bring these two groups of people together into one neighborhood association?
We'd like to have that accomplished if they want to. I don't know. I'd like to see you come together, or y'all.
Well-
I can't see Barton States being split. I mean, by the definition, when you go to form a neighborhood association, you got to outline all the streets, addresses, and so here I don't know where everybody lives. I mean, you may live on her street and her street. I mean, it's going to be. It's my opinion that you've turned out. Is that correct?
Yes, at the end of September.
End of this month. Okay. So at the end of this month, when would you normally have an election to?
We normally have it a meeting before. We can have it. We plan on having one on the 21st, but we want to deal with the bylaws first, because the bylaws we have currently, we've been working on them for a while, and they are not suited for the neighborhood. But we talked to the neighborhood, and we got some people together. We want to restructure the bylaws. The bylaws
Right.
Yes.
that'll stop a lot of what happened before. Just form a group without doing anything, and they got their own group. They want to throw everything on the internet. But
Since you're
this bylaw where we're working on now, it specifically spells out what we can and cannot do. It's a pretty good one.
Well, actually, his
So
new
you-
bylaws will actually put him in term for another 4 years.
Well, I don't desire to be there another 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about the current
I don't-
one.
yeah.
Well, the current-
one,
as far as
here's
the
current
current-
one that you
There's
passed.
nobody
Yes.
rejected
So
to
the
that.
current
Nobody
one-
ejected to that.
I need
We
to
hadn't
say
even voted
Let
on
me
it.
finish.
Go
The
ahead,
current
then I'm gonna-
bylaws
Then I'm gonna talk.
requires that you've termed out. Is that
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
At the end of this month. So maybe it's wishful thinking on my part. I like to keep, Barton Estates is an old established neighborhood association, and I don't see any need to split it up, have two different factions. That's not good. Y'all been a very successful neighborhood association. I've seen y'all at the round table and et cetera. So to me, it's time for having an election
Right.
for officers.
But we haven't nominated
No, I know
anybody.
you haven't yet. So
But we
he
also,
terms out. So Johnny, I'm just appealing that one course of action is, if you're going strictly by the bylaws, is to have a meeting, to have a nominating committee or take nominations from the floor and do it this month. You said September 21st?
Yeah, we got one scheduled for the 21st.
And the neighborhood comes together and you make your nominations, have a vote. Then have that new group of officers. If you think you need to change some of the
That was
bylaws or
outdated.
amend it, then
Well, you could,
Either way.
you could have a committee do your.
yeah, our committee,
Exactly.
appoint a committee after you have your
Well, that-
new officers elected.
That's what we was doing, and somebody just took it on their own to do it.
What's your thoughts
I think
about
Emma
that?
wanted to speak.
I mean, he's turned out, or will
Well,
be
well,
turned
no,
out, and
his-
have a nominating.
Not
committee.
only me, it's
Well,
three
okay,
of us.
Okay.
well,
three of you.
but the problem is that the new bylaws that he's going to be presenting for a vote on September 21st has taken out the option of, if the people in the neighborhood have a problem with how the board is working things, for them to call a meeting and discuss the issues. Another one is that if the vote on the bylaws in September 21st are approved, then that puts him in office for another 4 years.
See, that's.
And that's the other issue that I have.
Right, but what that comes down to though, that's, what that is an amendment of the bylaws. The bylaws can't be amended unless the majority of the members, president who can vote, approves it.
And then the other,
Well, that's what I'm saying, who approves it. I don't care if a president say, I'm gonna get paid. If the membership votes, no, you will not get paid, that's how things work. So if you're concerned about like the new bylaws, make sure that there's people there to vote not to do it. Make sure, in other words, make sure when you have the meeting and the bylaws are presented, the revisions, then make sure the vote goes no. Because
Yeah.
the membership determines the bylaws.
but the other problem is that the June meeting and the August meeting, whole streets were left out. They picked and chose who came to the meeting. My whole street didn't get a newsletter. The whole street of Lawrence didn't get a newsletter. I've got an email from a lady saying, "How come I didn't get a newsletter till the day after the meeting. They're,
This is for the September meeting?
this
Who
is
meeting?
for
My meeting or your
the
meeting?
June, for the
You got two
June,
meetings
Your
going
meeting.
here.
the June
No,
meeting.
I'm talking about the meeting that you're talking about where you're gonna revise the bylaws.
No,
When is
my
that meeting
street,
gonna happen?
it's supposed to be on Monday, but nobody,
Next Monday.
a week from Monday, but nobody, our street has
So you're saying
been,
that there hasn't been adequate notice of this
Exactly.
meeting to revise the bylaws?
and all houses are not involved in receiving the
Is that
flyer.
True, that's not, we're not slaves, number one.
Well-
Everything is strictly volunteer,
Volunteer. We
okay?
did do
Everything
those
is strictly volunteer.
Thank
We're
you.
not slaves.
And it's on the website.
My husband and I work so many streets, okay?
Yeah, it's on the
Mr. Gray
website.
takes care of Lexington. Carrie takes
Wales
care
and
of
Cambridge.
Wales and Cambridge. We happen to do Founts. We do Pritchett, we do Lawrence, we do all the
Beacon Hill,
little back
McCullough,
streets.
all
It
of
took
them.
us 3
3 days.
days to finish the streets.
And nobody
These people
offered to
here
volunteer.
never offered to volunteer. We
Well,
do
that's
three,
beside
we
the
do
point.
so
Well,
many
she
streets
had
to it, it's
my- she
unreal.
had
The
my-
point I'm
But the
making-
point is that,
The point I'm making is, if you're gonna make these, if you're gonna implement a set of bylaws, you know, at a meeting, then those bylaws do not get revised until the general membership at that meeting approves them. The president cannot approve bylaws on his own. So my.
I think everybody knows that, yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
Well,
but my point I'm making though is that if you're gonna move forward as an association, you gotta have one association, but you also gotta have one set of bylaws. Sure. And if the implementation of new bylaws is creating this kind of problem, then you need to officially do the bylaws proper so that the bylaws are done properly and the authority to revise the bylaws comes from the board, comes from the organization.
And that essentially happened at the last meeting.
We
Yeah.
did a vote.
It did.
We did a vote.
well, they voted to hold off, but did you also
postpone.
remember that he also requested, that we also requested that he put the new advised, the new
That was a draft,
suggestion?
and I didn't want to put that on.
But we
there.
asked
That's a
for him to
draft.
put those on
The website.
the website for everybody to look at. Even though this is a draft, this is something you're going to be acting to propose
Yeah,
at the next
right.
meeting.
Is it-
The other thing
Well,
is that
it's been
we've had
updated.
we've had people that we've contacted that have said that they have missed the whole entire street of Lawrence. The people who have been getting requests for meetings on Bunn Street. We've had a person on Thomas, and we just keep saying, well, how come we didn't get these? So they've sent a request to Johnny. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the volunteers to pass out those notices. But then it should have been tabled until he could get the proper amount of
Right,
time
'cause some
to pass out
people
the flyers.
weren't notified.
I wasn't notified about the last two meetings.
Well, you knew it was a meeting because you said yourself. It was
I
on
knew
the
because
website.
somebody who received a
No, it's
flyer
on the
told me about
website.
it.
Been on the
I don't go on the website, but thank you.
Okay,
I think
okay. You
wanted
don't.
to Say something.
Yeah.
No, she's been
Well,
patient.
Yeah.
She don't go on the website.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have had so many people tell us that they don't come to the meetings because they are afraid of retaliation because they have been retaliated against when they don't agree with things that go on.
What do you mean
And you
by
can
that?
take
I don't
that.
know what she mean by
with
that.
Code enforcement.
First time I heard of that.
Well, you didn't hear it because they wouldn't tell it.
They were
And
scared.
I've got letters from people, I won't tell you their names, that have said the same thing. I do not want to deal with this because I've had dealings with Miss Jackson and Mr. Jackson, and I was retaliated against.
There was a time period where Melba Jackson would go around asking for dues, $20 dues, and within a week of her refusing
That's
to give
inaccurate.
dues money.
That is definitely inactive.
I don't know what you're
Any
talking about.
event we put on,
So anyway,
everybody
we,
co-sign and everybody
she's-
signs.
in less than a
Everything.
week, she had a code
That's
enforcement
inaccurate.
called on her regarding her fence leaning too far and her truck being off the. Well, the code enforcement came out and they said we don't see a problem here. After our two meetings, I was delivering a letter to a lady's house, and Melba was up the street. Well, she called the police and said I was following her and stalking her, and then told the police that I was racist and that I'd followed her to Kroger that night. But I was across town having dinner with somebody, and then I was at a meeting the next day at a Subway, having a meeting across town, and she called the cops and said that I was following her through the neighborhood while she was passing out the flyers for the meeting. And I've got all that in the police report right here.
And
But I
have
was in a
pictures.
totally different part of the neighborhood. And I just recently got a response back from the police department regarding pictures of that said event. And they said they don't have any pictures on file to show that I was anywhere near her. But I did send pictures into them. But that's just part of the stuff. But we're getting other people, a poor lady in less than a week of her mother dying, she was approached, with code enforcement for different things because they refused to participate. It just seems that everybody who goes against what they want to do, they seem to get retaliated. And I've got 157 police reports of people being called on just for frivolous things because they didn't want to go with how things were going on.
Well, we can't
That's her
necessarily make
opinion.
that connection.
Mhm.
I mean,
I can only speak for myself.
okay, coincidental.
Coincidental
Yes,
that things are
coincidental
happening.
after that
I mean, if I'm
first
a
meeting, we
neighborhood
got all these
president, I can
threats.
still call code enforcement on somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can do that.
But our main goal is, for us, it has never been about race. Our sole goal is for transparency.
I believe
We would like proper documentation on financial reports, not $50 for this month, $20 for this month. We want itemized statements of everything that the money's been spent on, the grant money's been spent on. We want documentation on, we want copies of minutes just to let us know, what's going on in a meeting. So if we have any questions, we can go back and say, well, it says here in the minutes that this was done.
Well, Mr. Gray, what is your, are you an officer?
Yes, sir. Vice President.
Is what she's asking for unreasonable?
Probably not unreasonable, but what I see at the whole picture is nitpicking. She's talked about all the bad things that Johnny's done. Why don't she talk about some of the good things he's done?
What are they?
Just, it's tons of them. I mean, put that Christmas party on for the veterans. That was a good thing. I mean,
That
those
was
people
4 or 5
died.
years ago.
and got
See, we're
wounded
talking
and-
about just the last 2 years that we've been having issues with what's been going on in the neighborhood.
And
I
I've been
didn't
on
say.
this board for 2 or 3 years.
Uh-huh.
I have seen no money misused. I've been in business 54 years.
Uh-huh.
I can see when things are going wrong or when money's being stolen. I don't see anything here.
Well, but it's not you say it's not unreasonable if somebody said, well, I'd like to see the financial report from the last meeting, or I'd like to see the minutes from the August or the September meeting from last year.
They want 6 years of financial report. 6 years, go back 6 years.
Well, wouldn't it?
Well, won't they go ask the rest of them that? They didn't ask
Because
nobody
you've
else.
got
If
the
you want to be
records.
transparent.
I have all the minutes from all
You
the
didn't
other
ask no other
presidents.
president.
I have,
No,
and
you
I've
haven't.
gotten
Who's
them.
the other president?
Doris Dickey,
There's
Ann
about 9
Dean.
before me, and they haven't done
No,
anything.
it was Karen Harmon, then Ann Dean,
Right.
and
McFarland,
Karen Harmon, Doris Dickey, and
Carol.
Ann Dean, and I've gotten every single piece of information that I've
McFarland
requested from them.
Yeah, because they didn't stay in office but 2 months.
That's not true,
3
Well,
months.
but that's nitpicking again.
That
But
ain't nitpicking.
the only issue we have right now is the last 2 years that they're, and I,
We
okay,
ain't
and
done
I will
nothing in the
say
last 2 years.
that there have been good things, and I've never been involved with the neighborhood association because I chose not to, but because I was having issues in my neighborhood, Johnny said, come to our meeting, we can help you, but then he blew me off. And then I started noticing other people requesting financial reports, and I don't think that's unreasonable to wonder where the money's gone.
Well, and I have to agree.
We had
Johnny,
those at
it's
the
not
meeting.
it's not
We had
unreasonable.
those at the meeting, Gerald. I don't know what she's talking about. We read the finance report off every meeting. Nobody asked to see nothing. If they asked to see it, I would have showed it to them. All they did, they voted on it, and that was it. That's what the bylaws say. We present it at the meeting, you vote on it, and we go on about our business.
Well,
And nobody asked about it.
If you
There's
showed
no,
her the minutes and the financial reports.
She didn't ask at a meeting.
I think you
We,
satisfied.
She
we
never
sent
I
you
haven't
a
seen
letter
them.
March
12th.
the 12th and asked you for this information, and if you had complied with that, we wouldn't be sitting here
no, we
doing
would.
this.
We'd be sitting here
No,
anyway.
we would not.
We
No,
would
we-
be
No, we
sitting
would
here.
not.
I mean,
Because it's not
throw out
about
another
that.
suggestion.
Okay,
Trying to brainstorm a little bit.
Yeah.
What, how many households?
488.
488. And there's some neighborhood associations that are
That's-
smaller than that.
Yes.
I didn't want to go this way, but after hearing the conversations, the way it's going, is there any way to make it Barton Estates #1 neighborhood association, or whatever name you want to do, and split it out different?
I
Does that
mean,
make any sense
yeah.
at all?
It's
Something
just
like
that
that.
there's
I know it's-
a
I hate
majority of the
parking
neighborhood is
to
one
break
little
it up like
section,
that.
but if that's what
I don't know.
it comes to, because I don't see us coming to an agreement.
Well, Susan Rose had asked me and Tammy Henson to do a survey of how many wanted, because they wanted to just disband the neighborhood association altogether. So she asked me to go around to the households to find out how many wanted to keep the neighborhood association and their current board members. I got over 300 and some signatures that wanted to keep their current neighborhood and their current board members.
Then we
Even
had the
some of the,
meeting.
and we had the meeting, and even some of the people that's on their list, they even called the city because they was coerced into signing their
Do you
list.
have that document?
I
Yeah.
have all my stuff at home. And when
Yeah,
we did our meeting, when we did the meeting, we took a vote. And Emma Petty voted to disband it. She voted to disband it. It was another lady. It was 3 people voted to disband it in the current board members. We had an overwhelming voted to keep their current board members and their neighborhood association. And I
I
presented
don't know
that
why
to the
we're still
city.
here.
So I don't know why we're here. We presented that.
We done this survey.
We did the survey like they asked
At
us.
what meeting?
We did it at our last meeting.
It was at,
It was,
it wasn't the last one,
it
one
was-
before that
Do you
one.
remember that,
I'd
Nikki?
certainly like to
August.
see that survey.
Yeah, Nikki was at that
You
meeting.
would not
and she
see the
didn't
survey because most of the people on this survey, you all coerced into signing yours.
We didn't
So,
coerce anybody to do anything.
I'm not gonna show it to
Let
you.
me ask you a question. So
What?
you're saying there was an official
Yes, it
board
was.
meeting, there was an official
And
vote?
general meeting.
There was
Yes.
an official vote
In
to
August.
maintain the current board and the current association?
Yes,
Yeah, August.
and
It
we
was, I think
presented
it
it
was
to the city.
2063.
But that was
I don't
also
have it in
during the
front of
meeting
me.
where our whole street never.
There was never a mention of a survey with 300 people on it.
There were
Okay, no,
the,
no,
You
that
can
ain't-
look
that
at
ain't-
the
that ain't-
minutes
that
and
ain't-
see.
That was
We
the
sent
exclusion.
We sent
Wait a minute, back up. That's not the
meeting-
question I'm
the
asking.
flyers were not sent out to every
Wait a
neighborhood.
minute, listen what I'm saying.
And I sent a letter out too.
I did not receive that letter.
You got the letter because you turned it into the city and you got it back on open records. Don't sit and tell me
No,
you didn't
I
get
did
that
not.
letter. You got that letter.
But I'm saying, there was a meeting held,
Yes,
and y'all was there?
I was there.
these two.
Yeah.
Nikki was there
Okay, let me
too.
ask you a question.
Nick had left.
Why were y'all there at that meeting?
We were there at the meeting to, again, ask them for minutes, things like that.
That's not what was on the
Hold on,
agenda.
Johnny, hold on. So did y'all participate in the meeting?
We did.
Did y'all vote during the vote?
Yeah, we also made corrections to minutes and things like that.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that now, at that meeting, who was the presiding board at that meeting?
They were.
Why did y'all participate in that meeting if you got your own?
Got
if
your
you-
own
if you-
board.
Because
wait,
we-
wait, listen what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be antagonistic.
No, no,
I'm just
no.
I'm just trying to wrap this around my head.
We attended and recorded the meeting
Yes.
because in the past, we've been attending
What I'm saying
minutes.
is this, though, if you are a board
Uh-huh.
yourself, then why did you operate under the authority of another board for the same neighborhood association? That's what I don't understand.
Because we're a neighbor in this association in an effort, because we have not been, because there's not one board, we have attended the meeting to make sure that what they're doing is still by the book.
Well, I think Dennis brings up an interesting
But,
point.
but you're the board.
But we attended because we felt that it was necessary for somebody to attend to make sure that what they were saying in their meeting, they couldn't turn around and say something else afterwards, which is what they've done in the past.
So let me ask you this question.
That's a lie.
When have y'all had y'all's meetings where y'all was the authority board?
We've had several meetings and we've passed out to all 488 houses.
When the last time you had
And
one?
Johnny, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And then, so were they at y'all's meetings?
They were given a notice. They chose not to attend our meeting.
Nothing's ever been to my house.
So I guess
Where
what
do
I'm,
you live?
Well, I live,
okay. Well, what I'm getting at is this, because I'm not going to go down the road of who got
What flyers?
notices and all that, because that's irrelevant to me. I'm trying to get back again as to what was officially done, and if there was a vote of the membership at a meeting to say, we want to keep the neighborhood association, et cetera, and then y'all actually voted in that election. Unfortunately, you was on the losing side.
Right.
Do you not recognize that vote?
No, I do not.
Okay, well then, why did you vote if you weren't going to recognize the results of the vote?
We didn't vote.
Well, you said yes.
We
you just said you did.
abstained.
You abstained? I thought you said they.
No, she voted.
She voted.
I did not vote. I did not raise my hand.
We did not.
So-
We were opposed because we didn't raise our hand.
Hey, Carrie.
They did.
Maybe Carrie can let you know who voted. She's secretary.
You was a. Okay, to make
Here,
so
Eric.
you didn't vote no. You just
I just did not vote.
You did not vote.
No,
Okay,
it's
so
three that didn't want it, and it was them three. She has the minutes, but I don't remember.
but in other words, did they vote and said no? We don't want neighborhood association.
Yes, they did.
Because I asked the question. It was. I don't know if Carrie got the minutes with her, but what it was, we asked for what was it, Carrie? We asked for somebody to
Take a vote on how many wanted
Yeah.
to keep their current neighborhood
well, we asked
association.
for a motion, didn't
Are
we?
you secretary?
Yes.
What was the vote?
What was,
Well, it's out in the car, but, yeah, it was like some 20-something to 3.
And there was 3 no votes.
yes.
And then the city asked me, she said, do you have record of it? And I said, yes. They said, well, can you bring it
And I
here and
sent
turn it
that out before
in?
the
So we
meeting, letting them know
came
that's what
and we
we're
turned it
gonna do.
into the city. They got a copy of it because they did an open record.
How do you
and
know we
they got
did
a
open
copy of it.
records?
Excuse me?
How do you know we did an open record?
Because I called the city and they told
We
me.
done one.
They're not allowed to tell you
No,
that
we
kind of
done
stuff.
one.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can. It's an
It's
open
open
record.
record.
Once you turn it over to the city,
Okay.
it's public.
Yeah.
So how is both organizations, they're not recognized by Susan Rose from a grant perspective?
Right. Because
They recognize you as 2 separate
Yes.
associations, but
2
neither
boards
one
who
of
represent
you
Barton Estates.
can ask for grant
But
money.
Right.
see,
Okay.
Oscar, this not helping the neighborhood.
No,
And
it's not.
I try to tell
It's
them
not. I mean,
all
for
this.
grant money
We need to
purposes.
we just need to start fresh. I got a meeting coming up. We got one on the 21st, and I'm going off anyway. You know, so we're gonna do a vote. If
So the
we wanna
21st
pass-
is
we
for
wanna-
election new officers.
and pass the bylaw, because we talked about it at the last meeting. If they don't pass them, you know, I guess they do what they do. Because we did have another group, Carly worked on a amendment.
Yeah.
She worked on one, we looked at it as a board, and we like it. We made a few suggestions. Gave back to her, we're gonna bring it back to the
Have you seen the new
neighborhood.
one?
on
No,
the
I haven't seen
21st.
anything.
She hadn't seen it, but it kind of sort of what we had, Kathy, but it was just a little few modifications, took some stuff out. And it had in there, just kind of left things alone, where you don't stay in there so long. I didn't want to stay 1 year. My wife nominated me, and they voted me in every 2 years after that. Because nobody wanted to step up. I asked every year.
Every
Didn't I,
year he
Karen?
asks, every
I said,
year.
I need to, y'all need
Oh,
to vote.
I can relate to that.
Every year we were asking.
And Mr. Kraft got stuck.
Betsy
But-
and Chester
They
can
got
tell you
the
every
80-20
year
rule.
we ask.
Yeah, but
What
Well,
on
we
your
put it on the
agenda
notices.
the only agenda for this one is the bylaws, because we have presented them at the last meeting, to vote and pass the bylaws, or don't pass them.
Have you set the flyer?
No, they go out this week. We usually go out 3 days before the meeting. We usually put them out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Let me
something
make a
like that.
suggestion. Try 2 weeks before the meeting.
Yeah.
3
Well,
days is
well, we tried that, Mr. Webb. People say they forgot,
Well, but
and they
yeah,
throw it away.
Right,
We
still
wasting
3
paper,
yeah, still
but it's
3
on the
days.
website.
Yeah, but still 3 days before a meeting.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of members that aren't even on the
Pretty
computer.
short notice.
Right.
Maybe 7 days before a meeting. And this is just a suggestion
Yeah.
for future notification, because most people, you know,
They got plans, you know?
yeah,
Well,
so you need more than a 3-day notice.
Well,
And I think that all houses should be included in
It
the
is.
disper, it is
But
not.
not the ones that say no trespass.
I don't have
we
any of
shoot
those
to
on my
kill.
door.
You took it off.
Because we got a picture.
I got a picture, you done took it off. But,
But y'all delivered
But you
newsletters for
wanted to
8
go
years
there.
until all of a sudden.
till we got the threats.
But then there's some people on Bun Street who
We got
didn't get their
threats,
notices.
Death threats, that's why we stopped.
Seeing you keep claiming those are us, but we don't make that.
I
we're
didn't
not-
say it was y'all.
So why would you not give us a
Police
notice?
advised us not to put things on folks' houses, no trespass, shoot to kill. After they
I
threatened
don't-
to blow
I don't have
Melba
that on my
and your
house.
brains out. It was
Okay.
on yours, it was about behind your mailbox.
I don't believe so.
That's why we didn't give you.
Well, that's.
But you're the only one that didn't get one.
But no,
On that street.
we've got 5 people on Lawrence
Well,
that didn't
the
get
lady
one.
on the end,
Can
she's
you give her
Jehovah's
a
Witness,
stack?
she don't want
Can you
one.
give this lady a stack of?
Yeah, I'll give her
them
some,
out?
put them
I
on
would
the
love to
street.
pass them
And
out.
so once we've
But
done this
nobody
before, we spread it
volunteered.
out for flyers. Give her a stack. How many would you want?
I would do the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
So what else is on the agenda? for you?
That,
Can you name the agenda?
we'll do a summary of the whole year. Always do a summary, wrap up of the whole year, what we did, what went down, and financial report. We also talk about the National Night Out, and nomination and vote in new officers, because they gotta do it, because
Yep.
we're right on top of it now.
September is the typical time.
No, it's usually August.
Okay.
Usually August,
Okay.
but there's been all this discourse going on, kind of pushed it a little bit.
Okay.
We were supposed to have
Usually.
elections last year, and we didn't have those either.
Yeah, I put that off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, because of the cooling off.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
kind of tense. So we
So
let
when will the
everybody cool
flowers
off.
be ready, you think?
Hopefully Wednesday.
Okay. Y'all can get together and give her a stack of them.
Oh yeah,
Pass
we
it.
got Lawrence and Pritchett, Fouts.
So let me ask you this question.
Them long-
You said
I think it's
you-
important
you
to
said
have
you
a-
would do the whole neighborhood?
I sure the heck would.
Okay, hold on.
They usually do.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
hold on.
I
Wait.
volunteer.
Hold on.
But
This
they
is-
acting as they board.
Hold on. This
It's
is
good to have you.
I don't trust them to put my flyers out and they got a board.
Come on.
Yeah, no. At some
Everybody
point,
that's another board.
But here's the point. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but that's
At
another
some
board.
point,
Oh.
at some point, in order for it
Gotta
also to be a
trust.
neighborhood association, y'all got to rebuild some trust.
Put the
Right.
Well,
past-
I've never
And so
objected.
Here's where you can start.
Right.
Okay, you can do your part by getting the flyers ready.
Yeah.
And then you can give them to her, and she
Right.
says she'll do the whole neighborhood. And if they don't get done, then it's on her, and you hold her accountable. You hold her accountable. You hold her accountable. You hold her accountable, and that way you solve this issue of, well, at least we didn't get the flyers because they didn't want us to have them. You're saying that you're gonna do all how many houses?
488.
You'll be responsible for all 488 houses getting that notice. Okay.
I have no problem with that. I've never had a problem with passing out flyers, but I've never been given the opportunity
Well,
to pass out
again, that's what I'm
flyers.
saying. Tonight should be the night that we decide we're going to do that for the sake of the neighborhood. Because again, look, at some point, if y'all going to ever have one neighborhood association, it's going to be some reconciling of each other and of feelings and you know, and at some point you got to realize, yeah, we messed up in the past. You know, we
And then
and you got to realize you got to forget all that in the past for the sake of the
He excused
neighborhood,
himself for a minute.
and then move forward and start implementing things that's gonna move forward as a neighborhood. And then when you have that meeting determines who the neighborhood association board is.
No, I can't agree with that.
Well, let me say something. If this meeting,
not? Hold
if
on.
a meeting being
Hold on,
reported,
hold on,
don't everybody
hold on.
need to know?
Johnny, hold up.
But if a meeting being recorded,
hold up,
because she's recording me.
hold
She's
up.
recording.
That's okay. Why not?
Because I don't feel that the board currently, as it is functioning properly. And even though I
Okay,
agree,
wait a minute. Whether you feel that or not, they're the official board.
no, they are on a board representing the Barton Estates neighborhood,
Okay, but they're an official board.
according to them.
Let me ask you this question. Why are you willing to take the flyers and hand them out for a meeting that they're calling?
Because I want to make sure that everybody in the neighborhood gets a copy. If they pass them out, we can't guarantee that everybody in the neighborhood is going to get a copy.
She's volunteered to pass them out.
No, you missed what she
Okay,
said.
what did I miss?
My question to her was, and I was talking to them about, at some point they got to reconcile and start anew. And at this meeting that they're talking about having for the nominations and elections, and that whereby she has volunteered to pass out all the flyers, my question to her, if everybody in here was, are you going to recognize that meeting, you know, as and whoever is elected that night as the official
Oh,
board?
yep.
And she said no. That's what we're talking about. So, and I'm asking, so now my question is, why are you not going to recognize what comes out of the meeting?
Because we haven't resolved the issues of minutes, financial reports. We haven't resolved.
That is not. Look, you got to let that go. And now, what you can do then is this: take care of this first, then take care of that minutes and financial report and all that stuff under the new board.
But is the secretary, you're the secretary? Is there minutes that you
Yes.
keep records of? Can you
They're in
give
my
her?
car.
In your car? She would like a copy.
She does have a copy of
The-
one of the meetings that she got through City Hall Open Records Act.
Because I couldn't get it through y'all. I
Do
couldn't.
you post, I know some of the people in your neighborhood do not have computers, but do you post the minutes on the website?
Well, people contact me and they,
No, we
you know,
don't, 'cause
either
it's never
they,
been
they've
voted.
either come to
Nobody
my
said
house or
something about
whatever,
putting that
or, you know, when I'm passing
Right,
out flyers.
We have
from-
the same
Mention
thing
it.
in our neighborhood. We have
And so
something
what we
like
do
that.
is, you know, we just offer everything that we've done as far as modifying the board. I've handed out to everybody who's shown interest. They say, please can I have a copy when you're done? I've given them a copy of everything they've ever wanted. I've never said, I can't give you a copy of that. Everything that they've ever asked for, I've always given them a
Well,
copy
they never
of.
asked at ours, Oscar. They never asked to put it
I didn't
on
ask
the
at me, I'm not
website.
talking about a meeting, I'm talking about just walking and talking to the neighbors in the neighborhood. If they want
Which
something.
neighbors?
Does the city?
488
doesn't require you to
houses.
Turn in minutes or financial statements or anything like that?
We've even
No.
posted our minutes. So, I mean, we have
I
no,
mean,
Because I don't remember. It's
No,
been
no, we're not. But we always have it available, every meeting that we have.
That's
The
what I
neighborhood
have.
upload.
We do
available.
too.
We have it too.
Every meeting, it's available.
yeah, but you have one copy that you read, you don't have copies that are available to people.
All that.
But you can email them to me, and that's what I've asked Carrie
Nobody
Berg is to
wanted
email.
it.
I've
To
emailed
this
Carrie
year,
Berg.
Until you started this
This
up,
is-
you're the only one said that. Nobody else wanted it.
Well, everybody's
From-
asked
from
for
a
it, and I've been
logistics-
told.
Again, I don't think that that's an unreasonable request. If anybody in the neighborhood said, hey, I'd like to see the minutes from,
And you can email them to me, and
I
that
don't
saves
think it is
paper.
either.
You can
But-
email them to me,
Yeah,
and that saves
but
paper.
We know when we email you something, you put it on next door and you.
What's the
you-
wrong
you
with
know
that
what?
if it's correct?
This was, okay,
I got
since
them
she said
through
that,
open
she put
records
on-
request.
She put on 5 people on, Miss Diane Meyer put on next board, 5 members on my street didn't get flagged because we don't agree with the board.
That's not
Now,
me,
is that
that's Diane,
correct?
that's Diane Meyer, that's not me.
I
All
didn't
right,
do
you
it.
put
We're
some
not
stuff
talking
out
about
there,
Diane
too.
Meyer.
But you
We're
put some
talking
stuff-
about-
Was she part of your board?
I got an
She
open
is
records
not
request.
part of the
she not?
board.
I did an open records request for the minutes for the meeting.
Right.
Because they were sent to the city, they are considered open records, they are public record. Therefore, I put them on next door because they are open public record.
Yeah.
I have never posted any minutes
Yeah, but you
that
didn't
were not
get-
turned into the
see,
city.
She's doing stuff
Well,
with
it's-
Gerald, her board, just succeeding ours to do what she want. Put
Well,
put your own stuff out there. I didn't see yours.
I just
Here-
want
I
to
hadn't seen
interject that
hers.
there's
Okay.
some really bad stuff they've written
On
on
next
next
door.
door. Really
'Cause
bad
I
stuff.
bad stuff about
It's
the current
not
board.
true.
I've reached it.
What's not
If you
true
can't
that's on there?
recognize.
Why
excuse
people
me,
didn't
I'll
get
let you-
flags and notices and
Well, why didn't the people get flags?
because the police told them not to.
Yeah,
So-
on certain houses.
At Sue Souther's house and Mavis Schroeder's house and
You know,
Sue Southern and Mavis Schroeder are a threat?
they used to
know.
put flags
They-
out. Wonder why they don't
I
put them
don't
out
talk to the
anymore.
police.
Well, why didn't?
They didn't
why-
ask to put none out. I can
What's
give them
the-
plenty flags.
how many board members are there?
7,
How many officers are there?
4, 3.
Okay, well, while we're here, can you tell us who the board members are?
Yeah, you don't know?
No, I've asked you in
Can I
request.
ask a question? Why is she recording them? Why is she
Right.
recording?
Why do y'all record
But
the
you're
meetings
supposed to
when
let
y'all
folks
have
know
them?
No,
that.
you're
We're not-
supposed to let people know that the
Time
meeting
out.
is being recorded.
Time out.
You record meetings.
Let me ask you a question.
No, we let you
Hold
know.
on, hold
Well,
on.
we let you know.
Hold on, are we, is this meeting being recorded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she's
Cut it off,
recording.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
What difference does it make if
Because I think
everybody's
it's
saying
quite
the right
underhanded
things?
That's
to be
underhanded.
here recording this
And
meeting.
you should have
I came
recorded
here-
everything.
I came here
I
on good
see it
faith.
right there.
I came
Me
here
too.
to actually have a meeting to talk about trying to help the Norwood Association. And I've quite frankly, and I'm not afraid, no matter what I say, I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say it anyway. But I do, yeah, I don't like, if you was recording this meeting, I wish you had told me at the beginning.
And she didn't.
I think it would have been a courtesy to
Okay,
tell me
let
at the
me ask
beginning
you
that you was
this.
recording this meeting.
Yeah.
They videotaped a meeting.
I'm not talking about they, them, tomorrow, yesterday, whatever. I'm talking about right now, tonight.
I'm recording it, so I recorded this meeting so they can't come back and deny saying something in a
now you're
meeting.
calling this light.
Go ahead and turn it off.
Here's the point.
We know
If
what
you
we're
had-
doing.